Hi guys, it's Paula and I hope you are doing well. This is going to be a paint your nails with me video. It's also going to be a Q&A, but before I get started with painting, I need to reshape my nails. So I wanted to show you what they currently look like. I basically have done nothing with them for months. I stopped painting them right around the time of the shutdown. So the week of March 15th was the last time I painted them. And so I haven't had any acetone on them. They haven't really had any polish or anything on them. I have trimmed them since March, but it's been a long time since I've trimmed them, and this is how long they are. That's way too long for my comfort zone. I need to cut them in about half and then file them down to a shape. So this is the before, and I'll be right back with the after, and then we'll get started with painting my nails. And I'm back. Full disclosure, it has been several days since I started this process. I sat down after I filmed that last bit, trimmed my nails and filed them down, and that was, I don't know, about 4 days ago. That's how my life goes these days. So I'm sitting in a different spot at the table and the camera's probably in a completely different position, but my nails are finally filed, and I would say that this is a length I'm very comfortable with. I do like having my nails roughly the same length. I'm one of those people that if I break a nail, I cut all of them down and start fresh. I do not like having uneven length nails. The nails I had several days ago in the last clip were all very evenly lengthed, but they were like Wolverine. They were way too long for me. I was afraid I was gonna hurt my kids. If I was still working, there's no way I could go to work with nails that long. I would definitely hurt somebody else's child. So this is definitely a length I'm much more comfortable with, and that's what we're working with. Some tools, my Revlon nail clipper. I love this nail clipper. I've had it forever. It's filthy. I think that's candle wax on it. I own other nail clippers, but I won't use them. I will only use them if this one's missing. Otherwise, this is the only nail clipper I will use, and I guard it with my life. I use it, I think it was originally marketed as a toenail clipper, but I use it on my fingers and my toes and my kids' fingers and toes. I love this. For my nail file, I used this one right here. It has the letters ASP on it. I'm not really sure what that stands for. I probably received this in an Ipsy bag at some point, and it is a glass nail file. I actually prefer the old-fashioned disposable emery boards, but I'm trying to be more conscious of the environment, and glass nail files are a more conscious choice when it comes to nail files. Also, I've heard many times over the years that you should really only file your nails in one direction, but that takes forever and I'm too impatient, so I just saw them down as best as I can, and it probably causes more frequent nail breaks, but I'm too impatient to file them in one direction only, so I just get it done. So that's the file I used. These are the base and top coats I will be using. I am not endorsing either of these products. I don't think I would repurchase either. This was gifted to me by my mother-in-law who didn't want it anymore. It's the Total Nail RX Stuck On You base coat. And this is the Essence, the gel nail polish top coat. I did purchase this, but I don't think I would rebuy it. It's okay, not great. And then for my nail polish, I of course will be using Gumption from Kale Polish. This is in my Project 10 uses, and I need to use it like 7 more times before it rolls out of the project. So that's what I'm using on my nails today. This is my first ever paint your nails with me. I've never done this before. I feel a little bit awkward. And if my angles are off, I am so sorry. You are more than welcome to provide suggestions as to what I could do to make this better. I am gonna do the best I can. But I hope you're here for the conversation and to learn a little bit more about me. I did post on Instagram and here on YouTube in the community tab an invite for anybody to ask any questions they have for me, and you guys came through with some amazing questions. So I'm really excited to dig into them. Today is Saturday, and my husband took my kids to play miniature golf. It's possible they could be arriving home anytime, I'm not gonna lie. I spent about an hour loafing on the couch, eating and watching YouTube, and now I'm like, oh boy, I better get this done before somebody comes home. So this will be the first time I've painted my nails since mid-March, beginning of March, and it feels a little strange, to be honest. I am right-handed, and I like to start painting my right hand first. So right now I'm painting with my left hand, even though I'm right-handed. I have very rounded nails. I've been told that by nail techs before, and they're not ideal for painting or for like nail polish strips. They never fit my nails right, but I do the best I can with what I have. So let's get to these questions. The first questions, several, came in from She Who Stalks the Hedgehogs. Love that name. And her first question, this question has been asked a few times in different forms, but basically she was asking about how Hazel has been doing since Grandma passed away. If you don't know, my mother-in-law, my husband's mother, moved in with us about 2 years ago, and even before that she was spending about half the week with us helping out with babysitting, and for several years she was the babysitter for my kids 3 days a week. And then she moved in with us 2 years ago, and she lived with us for almost 2 years, and she passed away at the beginning of April. Her death was not related to COVID. The doctors suspect she had a heart attack in the middle of the night. But it has been a huge change to our family since she was living with us, and we had gotten quite used to having her around. And it was especially hard on Hazel and my husband. My husband, obviously, because that's his mother. And Hazel and her definitely had a special bond. She actually slept with my mother-in-law. She preferred to sleep with her, and it was something I was planning to kind of get her out of the habit of doing, but Hazel is stubborn, and my mother-in-law loved having her in bed with her. So the two of them were sleeping together in the same bed. The two of them, that sounds wrong. The two of them were sleeping in the same bed, so they were especially close. My mother-in-law lived for those grandkids, and she definitely spoiled them to the point where I would kind of have to pull her aside and be like, okay, that's enough presents. It's nobody's birthday today. But I think she knew that her time on earth wasn't going to be forever, and she wanted to enjoy her grandkids and give them as much joy as she could. Oops, sorry. While she was here with them. And so she also loved to shop. She loved shopping, and she loved her grandkids. So it created a perfect storm for finding great deals and cute little toys that she could bring to the kids frequently, like several times a week. And the kids were flat out spoiled by Grandma, and they miss that because that well has certainly dried up considerably since Grandma left. But everybody seems to be doing okay. Nobody seems to be really struggling. We did finally actually bury her just this past week. It took forever because of COVID, but we definitely agreed that getting together as a family was part of the process of grieving and healing from a death in the family, and we didn't want to do it until we could all get together and give each other hugs and, you know, have a meal together. So we've finally been able to do that. We were able to find a restaurant that would seat, 20 or 30 of us so we could get together and honor my mother-in-law and her life. So we just buried her on Monday, and I think that brought some closure to some of the family members who really needed that. And I don't think it really helped Hazel. Hazel's still not getting it. We say prayers every night, and every night she prays for God to bring Grandma back and to make Grandma better so that Grandma could come back. But at the same time, I also don't think Hazel's been too affected by it. I think it's kind of become a habit to say that prayer every night, as sweet as it is. She will also, in the same sentence, pray for a pet unicorn. So I don't know if she really understands what she's saying, but she does pray for Grandma to come back every night. And it breaks my heart a little bit every single night. All right, this is already pretty dry, so I'm going to move on to the nail polish. The next question from Hedgehogs is, have you always lived in Chicago? Yes. If you are from Chicago, you have to be careful about saying you're from Chicago if you're not really from Chicago. I was born in the suburbs of Chicago and raised in the suburbs of Chicago, and I currently live in the suburbs of Chicago. I maybe spent a total of about 5 years of my life living in the actual city of Chicago, but yes, I've always lived in the suburbs of Chicago. And the last question is, do you think that your profession affects your parenting in any way? Yes, 100%. I absolutely think my profession affects my parenting. If you don't know, my profession is an occupational therapist in the school systems. I work in a school setting as an OT, and a huge part of my experience over the last 20 years has been helping children regulate their minds and their bodies so that they can learn. And when you do that for a living for 20 years, it's really hard to not do that with your own kids. It's been very important to me to make sure my kids are well regulated, whether that's having opportunities to play and climb and swing when they need those opportunities, as well as opportunities to learn how to sit and be quiet and be still when that's appropriate. Unfortunately, a lot of kids don't know how to do that, and they need to be taught that. And some kids cannot learn because they have a disability, and so you're always working towards improving that skill, but it's a lot of work. Now, my kids don't have a disability, so it was pretty easy to teach them. But I definitely think that I've learned a lot of tips and tricks along the way as an OT in the school systems that I just kind of automatically used with them without really thinking much about it. Having newborns was really hard. I had zero experience with a newborn, and so when both of my kids were born, I really struggled until they were about 6 months old. That was really hard for me. I had no experience with babies, and I didn't really like it, to be honest. They're cute, but they're scary and a ton of work. But once they got to be about 6 months old, the skills I learned from doing my job kind of kicked in and took over, and it started to get really fun. I'm really focusing in on this nail right now. I'm gonna leave it alone. Okay, the next question comes, questions. Okay. Several questions come from Melanie, and her first question is, what is living in the Chicago area like? Being from the UK, she says she only sees how it is portrayed on TV. She's currently watching a lot of Chicago shows like Chicago Fire, Chicago Med, Chicago PD. So, living in Chicago, like I said earlier, is very different than living in the suburbs of Chicago. I don't know what living, and living in Chicago varies greatly depending on what part of the city you are living in. So there's very, very affluent areas where people have lots of money, and then there's very, very poor areas of Chicago where people don't have any money. And then there's everything in between. So it really depends on what part of Chicago you're talking about. Most of my experience of growing up in Chicago and working in Chicago has been on the south side, which is the poorer area of Chicago. There's a lot of poverty, but there's also some of the nicest people you will ever meet. I did home therapy on the south side of Chicago for 10 years before Ron was born. After working in the schools during the day, I would start that job in the afternoons and do that until dinner time. And I really enjoyed that work. I am not a big fan of downtown Chicago, if I'm being honest. It's too crowded. I don't want to have to drive down there because there's nowhere to park. You got to pay a lot of money to get a good parking spot, and then if you're trying to like just navigate like driving down the street, there's a million people trying to cross the street. So really, we don't go downtown very often, even though there's so many amazing things to see and like touristy things to do. We don't go downtown very often. We're not in... Kitty. Quiet. We're not that into sports, so it's not like we go down for baseball games or hockey or basketball. A lot of people go downtown for sports games, but my husband and I aren't that interested in sports. My husband's interested in wrestling. That's really the only sport he's interested in. And I'm not interested in any sports whatsoever. So we don't go downtown for sports. We don't do touristy things downtown. But I generally like to avoid going downtown because it's so crowded. And if I do go downtown, it would be like Sunday for brunch. I gave up my cable a few months ago. My husband and I decided to cancel our cable service, and with that left our news channels. So the news channels are 257 and 9, I think, and Fox. And before we got rid of our cable, I would turn on the news usually once a day for the local news and see what's going on. And I don't have access to that anymore. I could still probably filter it in through YouTube and catch the local news, but the truth is, I don't mind not knowing what's going on. But it kind of leaves me a little bit clueless too. I'm in a little bubble. And I don't mind it, but I can't really talk about what's going on because I honestly don't know. In the town where I live, the big hot button issue is that the residents want a traffic light installed at a particular intersection where there's been 2 accidents in the past week and one was a fatality. So that's the news I've been hearing about all week long. Melanie's next question is, what is my thoughts on guns? Oh man, you guys are trying to really pull out some hot button topics here. My thoughts on guns, I don't really have strong thoughts about guns. I think if people want guns, they should be able to get them. I feel like if you're going to own guns, you have to be very, very responsible with it. You have to learn how to shoot and care for a gun. And if you have children in your house, you have to lock them. And as soon as your children are at an appropriate age, you have to teach them how to handle a gun and shoot a gun, because I do believe that would prevent a lot of accidental deaths with guns. But I personally do not and have never felt the need to own a gun, nor has my husband. My husband doesn't want to own a gun because he's afraid that somebody would get hurt, like our kids. And I don't want to own a gun because, one, I honestly believe if like somebody entered my house and I needed to protect myself, I would probably not be able to get to the gun in time anyways. And two, even if somebody was entering my house, I don't know if I'd want to be responsible for their death. You know, I mean, in a him or me situation, I'm still going to try it for me, but I don't know if I want to take somebody's life with a gun, even if they're entering my house. I don't know. It's just too horrible to even think about. So I'm not for guns personally in my life. I've never felt the need to own or shoot a gun. Some of my girlfriends are really getting into that. They actually just went to a shooting range together for target practice, and they absolutely loved it. And I just said, thanks, but I'm gonna sit this one out. But yeah, I mean, I do believe that if people want to have guns, they should be able to have them. And I'm fine with that. Just not for me. Her next question is, do you have any countries or places that I would love to visit? Yes. I want to go to Hawaii. So, I definitely want to go to Hawaii, but the truth is, I always imagine myself being one of those people that has a map like on the wall, and I would stick a pin in every place that I've ever been to. And here I am in my early-ish 40s, and I wouldn't have that many pins in my map. I've been to Germany, I've been to Cancun, I've been to a few spots in the US, but I haven't done a ton of traveling. And so my map would be looking pretty bare. But one place I would definitely like to go is Hawaii. That would be a dream destination for me. I would love to go back to Europe too. I'll talk about that in a minute. The next question Melanie asks is, what are your favorite foods or meals? She says she can't imagine having syrup for breakfast. Yes, I could definitely eat syrup for breakfast on pancakes or waffles or French toast. I would love that. I don't have it very often. That's kind of like a special treat if I go to a restaurant, or sometimes I'll actually make that for dinner. But for the most part, I have not been eating breakfast lately. Part of this diet that I'm on encourages you to skip breakfast. So a lot of times my first meal is at 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and so I don't really get breakfast unless I eat breakfast for dinner. But my favorite foods are definitely cheeseburgers. I love cheeseburgers. I love anything that you could get off a grill. I love tacos and Mexican food. I love guacamole. And there's a salad that I make at least once a week, almost once a week all year long, and it is the best salad I've ever had. And it's so easy. It's basically just pasta and mozzarella, tomatoes, basil, cucumbers, and then like an Italian and oil dressing that I make. And did I say basil? A ton of basil. It is so good. I love that salad. I eat it almost every day of my life, and it is my favorite food. I'm gonna do a second coat of gumption. It looks pretty good with just one coat, but I can see some streaks. The first nail I paint is always very thin, and then I kind of get a good rhythm going, but that first nail definitely needs a second coat. Melanie's next question is, am I planning on doing more collab videos? I don't have any in the works immediately, but I would love to. I would never say no to a collab video. I have a lot of fun collabing. Part of the trick about doing a collab videos is, one, getting the courage to ask somebody to collab with you, which is hard for everybody. I'm definitely that person that's afraid of being rejected, and so I'm sometimes afraid to even ask for fear of being rejected. Also, I feel like if I'm going to ask somebody if they'll collab with me, I should probably have some ideas ready to shoot at them to kind of convince them to collab with me. And sometimes I don't have any ideas, but when the right idea comes along and my courage is at the right place, I will definitely ask somebody else to collab with me. I don't know who that would be right now. I don't have anybody in mind, but I've had a ton of fun with all of the collabs I've done so far. And they've definitely almost all been beneficial for me, and hopefully the person I have collabed with has benefited from them as well. But you know, usually every collab brings me a couple new subscribers, which is fabulous and fun and validating. And the last question Melanie asks is, have I ever added up a rough estimate of how much my collection is worth? And the answer to that is no, I have not. And I have no desire to. I know over the last couple years, a popular trend has been to even total up the cost of the empties, and even that doesn't really interest me. I have purchased most of the makeup I own. I have purchased at a significant discount, if not received for free through using Ulta points. So the cost of them, the value of them is not really relevant because I didn't actually spend that amount on them. And the other thing is that some of my makeup is sadly so old, I couldn't even dig up the cost of them or their worth at this point anyways. So it's not like I could find them on the store shelf or online and look it up, because nobody's posting the value of a foundation that hasn't been on a shelf in 10 years. Okay. The next questions come from Care for Nature. Care for Nature is a friend of mine, both on YouTube and Instagram. She supports my channel, and I appreciate you for it, Care for Nature. Thank you so much. She just had a beautiful little baby. So cute. And her first question is, who are my favorite YouTubers? As far as the big YouTubers, I still really enjoy Kathleen Lights. I've been subscribed to her for several years. Obviously, I still enjoy Emily Noel 83. Like I said in my Emily Noel Made Me Buy It video, I have a special connection with her, with us both being from Illinois and with me having actually met her. I actually recently subscribed to Raw Beauty Christie. I had been stalking her channel for a while, and I wasn't ready to really commit to subscribing to her channel, but I was watching a lot of her videos, and finally after a while I thought, geez, why don't you just support the girl? Like, you're watching all of her videos, you should just subscribe to her channel. And so I did. And it was right around the time I think at the time she had 994,000 subscribers. And since then, she's hit 1 million, and she's kind of blown 1 million out of the water. Her channel's really growing fast. She also announced that she's, pregnant, which is so exciting. I don't know if I've ever been as invested in a person I've never met before as I am in her. It's so exciting, and I'm so happy for her. And she's come out with a collab palette with Pure Cosmetics, which is awesome. So those three, Emily, Kathleen, and Raw Beauty Christie, are like my favorite big YouTubers that I've really been enjoying. And of course, there's a lot of smaller YouTubers that I am very close with and very attached to, people that I speak with regularly, or message with regularly, and so I definitely have a special connection with them. Obviously, Alex is a huge one. Her channel is Alejandra Lisette, and we just collabed together on the Emily Noel Made Me Buy It video. And I just love her. I love you, Alex. You're great. Who else do I enjoy watching? At the end of the day, what I really like is project panning videos, and my favorite videos are the project panners. So panning and stuff. Amber F, of course, my girls Amanda and Jessica. Project panning videos are just the most enjoyable videos to see. And then there's a lot of lesser known channels than those ones that I just mentioned, but I love those guys. Rebecca Morgan, Alexi, who else? Rachel Stephanie. These are people that I just love. Emily and Max, I love working with all of them. I love their videos. I love seeing their progress. I do always keep my, at least at this point, I keep my channels that I'm subscribed to public. And I do that on purpose so that you can see who I'm watching. If you want to know who I'm watching, you can look at the channels tab on my page and see who I'm subscribed to, because if I'm subscribed to them, it's because I really like them. And Care for Nature's other question is, are there any tips that I have on motherhood, regrets, feeling guilty, or dealing with pressure? Oh, that's another tough one. I guess my main tip regarding motherhood, you know, this has been good doing this video because normally I cannot sit still, but filming this video is really forcing me to sit still and allow my nails to dry. I probably would have dinged them by now, but because I'm sitting still, they're drying and they're not getting dinged. But in regards to the motherhood situation, I would say that you have to take care of yourself first. You know, they always say that when you get on an airplane, if something goes wrong and the masks come down, put the mask on yourself and then put it on the person sitting next to you. Make sure your mask is always on. Make sure you're okay. Because if you're not okay, you can't really do your job as a mother the way you would like to. And then it's a snowball effect where you feel guilty and you feel bad, and it all rolls downhill from there. So make sure that you are taken care of and that you are okay. And once you're okay, make sure your kids are okay. Because at the end of the day, happiness is the most important thing. Kids need to be happy. And I really believe in that. I really believe that my happiness and my kids' happiness is the most important thing. There's things that I thought were going to happen that have not happened. For example, I thought once I became a mother, I would maintain a clean house, and that has not happened. My house is almost always a mess. And there are times where I am really getting in the groove with cleaning, and I'm in the zone, and I'm getting a lot done, and Hazel asks me to play with her, or Ron asks me to take him to a park. And I will literally stop what I'm doing and take them, because I don't want them to grow up saying, yeah, my mom cleaned all the time. We had a really clean house, but we never got to play. I'd rather have them say, yeah, our house is kind of messy, but you know, when we wanted to go to the park, my mom took us. So that's kind of what I've decided is a priority for me as a mother. And if the dishes aren't done and if the house isn't spotless, I'm okay with that. I'd rather us be making memories and doing things together than worrying about, you know, is the house company ready? And I think most of my friends and family know that if we're going to have a party, we need some time to plan and I need some time to clean. And if we're going to have a party, I will tell the kids, no, I have to clean. And they understand that. But if there's nothing going on, I'd rather play with them and do something fun than clean the house. So try to figure out what your priorities are and make it happen. I don't know, is that a good answer? That doesn't feel like the best answer, but that's the answer I have for that question. The next questions come from Sassy Sweetie. She has a channel here on YouTube. And her first question is, how's Ron? Is he still doing baseball? The answer to that is yes. Ron is good and he is still doing baseball. He's really been having a good season. Basically what they did was they shrunk the season up. They didn't start until July. Because of COVID-19, the season was supposed to start like at the end of March, and as a result of it not starting until July, they've crammed it in. So rather than having like 1 game a week, he's having 2 or 3 games a week. So it's very intense, but I'm glad that it'll be done before the school year starts so that we don't have to juggle that and the school year. And he's doing really good. He's in rookie B, which means there's no tee for him to hit off. The coaches pitch the balls to them and they have to hit a moving ball, which is a lot harder, obviously, than hitting a ball off of a tee. And it definitely gets a little bit more competitive as far as playing in the outfield, and he's picking up on that nicely. He still doesn't like the uniform. He never has. But when he starts to complain, I just remind him that being on baseball was his choice, not mine, and I don't want to hear about it. And then he usually quiets down. Sassy Sweetie's next question is Hazel still helping me pan perfume? No, she completely abandoned me. She's lost interest in applying perfume, which is too bad, but that's her choice and that's fine. And then her Her next question is, any motivational tips for me to get my butt off the couch and do some laundry? I don't know if that question was time specific or if that's an ongoing problem, Sassy, but my suggestion is to pause the TV immediately and do it because I think one of the most difficult things of today's day and age is that there's never any need to pause. Like, YouTube videos are on autoplay, Netflix is on autoplay. It just keeps going and going and going, and you're paying for the convenience of not having commercials, which is really nice. But as a result, it just never ends and you never stop. There's never a break where you're like, oh, let me get up and do this. And so you have to make the break to get up and do stuff. So if you want to get something done, do it before you turn the TV on, because once that TV goes on, it's not going to happen. And if you want to do something while watching TV, use your phone as a timer. Set a timer and say, I'm going to watch 20 minutes of TV and then I'm going to get up and do this. And when the timer goes off, go do it and come back, because there's never a break. There's never a commercial to get up and go do something. At least with commercials, when I was growing up, back when I was a kid, we had commercials. But at least when there was commercials, there was a reason to get up and go to the bathroom or make a cup of coffee or, you know, go throw a load of laundry in. And now it's like, before you know it, you've been staring at the TV for 4 hours and you haven't moved. It's not good. And Sassy's last question is, how have I been? First of all, thank you. Thank you for asking that. I really appreciate it. I have been okay. For the first 3 months of the COVID shutdown, if somebody was to ask me how I've been, my answer was always hanging in there. I didn't know what else to say. I didn't want to be like, I'm not doing well. But, and I didn't feel like I was doing bad, but I also didn't feel like I was doing great either. It just was hard to manage it all. And, with losing Jackie on top of it, you know, she was definitely a huge source of support. And if I needed to run to the store, she was always happy to watch the kids, and, you know, she was always home. So it was really great to have her around, and she was always ready to help. And so it was hard those first couple months adjusting to the shutdown and kind of the scariness of, you know, the situation, and then grieving the loss of Jackie. But I would say that these days when people ask me how I've been, I say good, which is a good thing. Having things like my son's baseball team has really brought some normalcy back into our lives, and having some idea about what's going to be happening in the next couple weeks has really helped as well. There was a lot of unknowns about my job and the kids' school, and I've been getting some answers. There's still a lot of questions, but we have gotten some answers about that. And the big answer is that my job has decided that they will continue remote learning for the first quarter. So as of right now, they're only committing to remote learning through November 8th, and then they will reassess the needs of, you know, the Chicagoland community at large and make a decision at that point about the second quarter. But just knowing one way or the other what the plan is has been helpful. So I will be working from home until November. And I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know if I'm excited about that or disappointed, but just knowing that there's an answer has been helpful. The next questions come from Epic Cookie. Epic Cookie, you support my channel all the time. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You had questions about keeping my nails strong, and is there anything special I put on them or use to keep them that way? And the answer is, I think it's a genetic thing. Because I don't really do anything. It is summertime, and in general, my nails are a lot healthier and stronger in the summer. They grow faster, they're less brittle, they're less likely to break. I also think being home for the last several months has helped, because I'm not lugging things around and working with kids and typing. I'm still typing a lot, but all of that has helped my nails to really flourish in these times. But just the fact that it's summer has really helped. I think the fact that I haven't painted my nails for the last 4.5, 5 months has really helped as well, because I use an acetone, why did I say acetane? I use an acetone nail polish remover, and I think that really dries out my nails and causes a lot of peeling. But because I haven't used that nail polish remover in the last several months, my nails have virtually stopped peeling altogether, so that's been really good. So there's no product that I can recommend as far as keeping my nails healthy. I'm sorry. I know that you were looking for an answer, but I think my nails are just relatively stronger in general, but not painting them for the last 5 months has definitely helped them to be even more strong, and the fact that it's summer here right now has also helped. Just getting a lot of vitamin D in my system. The next question comes from Rayan. Rayan, I hope I'm saying your name right. And it is, what is my best panning year? I don't know if I have a good answer to that. My gut is telling me that my answer would be the first year I started panning. You know, the first year you start panning, you find all these little leftovers around your house that you forgot about. You know, for years you've been using things halfway through and then putting them to the side, and then using something else until it's about half gone and then putting it to the side. And then you decide to project pan, and you find all those half-used things, and you can start finishing them off pretty quickly because they're already half-used. And as you're going along, once those half-used products are used up, your panning progress really starts to slow down. So I would say in some respects, my best panning year was my first year, because I was able to clear out a lot of old things that were on their last legs and move them out. And now it feels like I don't have many products like that. Now it feels like as I'm panning, I'm starting with a basically brand new product and trying to use it every day until it's gone. And it feels like it's taking forever. And in some cases, it is taking forever. But yeah, when you first start out, it's pretty exciting because you're just knocking off all those products that are almost gone and getting them out. My next question comes from Claire. She asks, have you ever been to Europe? If so, where? Where was your best memory? If I could visit in Europe, where would I visit and why? I have been to Europe. I was in high school. I took German for 4 years in high school, and part of taking German for 4 years was an exchange, having the option to be part of an exchange group with teenagers of the same age in Germany. And so my junior year of high school, I had a chance to go to Germany. And so I went to Germany. I spent 3 days in Munich, and basically I was so jet lagged that I was half awake for those entire 3 days. And then I traveled to southern Germany in the Rhineland Falls and spent 2.5 weeks there with an exchange family. My exchange student cohort was named Susanna, and I'm still friends with her today. I recently, in the last 2 years, reconnected with her on Facebook, and it has been so nice to talk to her. Those were like magical times. It was a magical trip to Germany. It was awesome. It was so much fun. There have been so many times where I told myself I wanted to go back to Germany, but the truth is, if I went back, it probably wouldn't be the same, because I can't have that exact same experience again, the exact same way. It was being with those same group of people and having this adult who is not your parents kind of guide you and supervise you, but not mother you, that made it such a special trip. And it was so much fun. And it was the families who hosted us, and it was going to their schools, you know, during the day, and then, you know, going to these Italian cafes for ice cream after school. And it was the food that Susanna's mother made for me that was so delicious, and all of that was part of what made it so special. And so if I went back today, I couldn't have that trip again. And what I really would like to do is have that exact same trip again. But I would love to go back to Germany. I do have German heritage. I'm not exactly sure how much, but I mean, as far as I know, I'm like almost all German with a little bit of Welsh. So in hindsight, taking German class was not the most practical language to learn. I should have done Spanish, but I felt as a German it was my duty to learn the language, and I'm kind of kicking myself for it. But the trip to Germany was amazing and worth it. The funny thing is that the following year, when I was a senior, those same students came to America and spent 3 weeks with us, and they were not impressed. I feel horrible for them. They had been watching Beverly Hills 90210 over there in Germany, and they were expecting to come here and walk into a scene of Beverly Hills 90210. And they were very disappointed when they got here because that's not what they saw. They had never seen so much obesity in their lives. They were really disgusted by all the littering and the garbage that they saw. They were really disappointed. So hopefully they still managed to have a good time. Unfortunately for Susanna, I was busy. I was in sports, and I was in the middle of doing a musical for my high school. And I was really unavailable. And I felt like she just got stuck having to wait for me a lot, and that was too bad. She deserved better than that, and I feel like she kind of got the shaft when she came here to America, because I was like, oh, I gotta go to dance practice, you could wait. Oh, I gotta go to musical practice, you can wait. But I don't really remember how we managed that, but hopefully she still had a good time. But my town is definitely not Beverly Hills, that's for sure. Okay, I'm gonna have to save some of these questions for another paint your nails with me or something. You guys had some good questions, and I did not get to all of them, but I've already been filming for about 50 minutes, and I don't think I'm going to be editing too much out, and my nails are done. So I think I'm going to stop this video here, and I'll just have to do another paint your nails with me again. But this is the final look of my painted nails. There's a couple little mistakes, but overall, not too much cleanup to do. Not bad for not having painted my nails in 4.5 months. So that's it. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me while I painted my nails. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.